And we're here for the South by Southwest Eco Home Beyond Walls panel. If you're not interested in homes beyond your walls, then time to get off the plane now. With me are Michael Swallow with Comcast and Jason Linksweiler with NRG. And we're going to talk about connected homes, how to manage the energy in our homes, the challenges of wanting more energy, but having to find a way to minimize its use, and the technology that's going to make that possible. So I'm going to start, I'm going to ask each speaker to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their company, and then we'll get started with questions. So Jason, can you start?
Sure. My name is Jason Linksweiler. I represent NRG Energy. I run our business transformation office. I know that sounds kind of nebulous, but it is essentially helping support our retail brands in competitive intelligence, strategy, business intelligence, and I also manage our project management office, so helping facilitate a lot of the work that we're doing in connected home and security. NRG, we're about helping consumers power their homes, as well as powering on the go. So I think this is a fitting panel for this discussion. We represent about 3 million customers, both in the Northeast and Texas, and in competitive markets. And we're constantly working on new innovation, new services, new platforms, based on our customers' needs and wants. So looking forward to the conversation today.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Michael Swallow. I'm with Comcast in Philadelphia at our headquarter office. I run our planning and strategy team in consumer services, and we spend a lot of time thinking about how do we do a better job to the 50 million homes we serve across our footprint in the United States. You know, technology and innovation certainly are at the center of driving economic development, and how we think about it is truly the health of the communities we service, and that comes in different forms. So it's everything from the medical vertical and the educational vertical. So how do we support that next frontier of wellness? How do we help universities change the way they want to interact with their student population? How do we treat and interact with our nonprofit and community investment partners, considering they oftentimes don't have the same level of technology that their for-profit businesses? How do we engage our governmental and municipalities to really help them understand the power of technology when they start to think about making their cities, quote, a smart city? And energy has become more and more important to our consumers, and it's gone from just a consumption model to really how do they become more efficient in their homes with energy. So we're pretty excited about what we think is a new frontier for us. We've been doing a lot of different work in the space over the last 5 years and testing different models and really kind of engaging our consumers to understand what it is they really want from their thermostat, from their refrigerator, from their stoves and appliances. How does that get controlled if they want it to be controlled by broadband that goes into their home? And you know, who do they want to play in that space? Do they want multiple providers in the home, multiple devices? And if so, do we allow those options, and how? So a lot of questions, and we're working on a lot of answers, and happy to be here today with you guys.
Thank you. Just quick poll from the audience. How many people here live in a deregulated electricity market? And that means people where you get to choose who provides you your electricity. Okay, so how many people have no choice in who provides their electricity? Okay, so I make this differentiation because it's really important to understanding the business models of these two companies. If you live in a municipality that has a municipal utility and you have no choice, then you don't get to choose which retailer has your electricity. I actually have both. I have a condo in Houston where I can choose between a couple of hundred different retailers, and then I've got, or maybe not a couple of hundred, maybe a couple of dozen, and then I also have a home in Austin where I only have Austin Energy to choose from. most of the nation is still a regulated market, if I'm correct, but a lot are moving towards the deregulated market. Can each of you talk about the challenges of NRG from a company that's historically just generated electricity and sold it wholesale, the challenges of retail and addressing the smart home from a generator's point of view, and of course Comcast, you're better known for providing cable television. And so this is and you don't generate electricity, so you're more of a services company. So I think it's interesting to look at it from two companies tackling a similar problem from very different backgrounds. So Jason, do you mind?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think to take a step back, where NRG started as a generation company, about 7 or 8 years ago, they started acquiring brands and companies in the retail space that had a lot of history and experience. So the main brand in Houston is Reliant. Was a big brand that had a rich experience both as a regulated utility and then moving to a deregulated utility, one of the few utilities that have transitioned from that. So there is a lot of experience, a lot of expertise in energy, and that as deregulated industry has evolved, we've had to become extremely good with customers. We've had to become extremely trusted with our customers. We've had to become, we have to be reliable because this is the energy industry. You have to be reliable with your power. So when you're competing against 100 other reps, as Chris mentioned, customers are going to answer with their feet. They're not going to stick around if you're not providing them with a great service and great products. Now, how that transitions to connected home, the reason we're getting connected home is because that's what our customers want. That's what they're asking for. We do a lot of consumer research, a lot of surveys, a lot of ethnographies. We've brought in a lot of talent that has spent time in consumer industries. So we're out there with consumers. We're figuring out what their needs and wants are. And I think there was a Accenture study earlier in the year that surveyed a lot of their participants and really looking at the future energy customer. And one thing that came out of that survey was that because of the rich relationship companies like NRG and Reliant have with their consumer, there's a trust that's there. There's a trust over the years that allows us to move into some of these new markets. And there's a belief that we're going to offer reliable service and that we're going to do right by them from a consumer point of view. That allows us to move into new industries like security and connected home. If you think about the hierarchy of needs, right, within a home, obviously when you move into a new home, I mean, who's the first company you're going to call? I mean, you're going to try to get your power set up. You're going to try to figure out your electricity and water and your utilities and get that working. So if you move down from that, what's the biggest energy use in your home? In Texas, it's certainly HVAC, right? It's AC use. So that our initial step was, all right, we're going to make sure that we're offering a smart thermostat to better regulate your number one use of energy in a home. So we started offering smart thermostats. So once you figured out HVAC and you've optimized your energy use as it relates to HVAC, what's next? Well, then you start looking at lighting, right? And then you start looking at other parts of the home and how you can best optimize energy use across those areas. So if we're already in the home with a smart thermostat, making sure that our smart thermostat can allow other devices to connect to it in a simplest form and keeping everything very simple and easy to understand for consumers, this is a natural progression from our foundation that is energy. So that's how we've kind of transitioned from this generation company to one that's now participating in security and connected home. And that's the path and how we've gotten where we are.
So thank you for being a reliable power company, because we depend on that. So, here's what's interesting is that this year we became a larger broadband company than we did a video company. So while 50 years ago we started off as a cable company, today we're really not a cable company any longer. We're more of a technology company, and with the purchase of NBC, we're more media focused as well. So as we think about, again, innovation and technology, and when we think about our consumers wanting to participate in the smart home, we were at the front of that conversation with them. And while I'll admit that we've had issues from a customer service perspective in the past, and we've always been challenged with, our industry has always been challenged with legacy issues and quite frankly, some real issues today. We've really focused and spent this last year on creating a platform that would enable us to become, to enable our consumers' experience to be our best product. What that means is that, to your point earlier about trust, while our consumers trust the reliability of our products, we still have that opportunity to improve the consumer experience. So we're focused on doing that, and we've done some of the brick and mortar stuff. So we've added resources, more technicians, more call center reps, and those kinds of things. But what we did beyond that, what we're really working on today, is what do we do to enable the consumer to choose how they want to interact with us? So if they want to order the new service or upgrade their service, do they have to call us? The answer should be no. It's easy enough to do online and chat at minimum with a rep. But today, in certain markets, we're trialing an app that you can actually interact with the app and understand who your technician is, where your technician is, how far away are they, what's their ETA to your house, and also their photo, so you know exactly who's knocking on the door. What this does is it gives consumers just another reason to trust what we're doing for them and empowers them to kind of control their own experience. So all of that to say, when we think about the connected home, it is hugely important to us because now that we're a more focused broadband company, more so than ever, it's incumbent on us to make sure that we're providing the consumer the options. Today, because customers want options. They want the option to have Comcast and our energy thermostat, or they want Nest, or they want their provider of utilities. Whatever it is they want the option. So we want to be at the table providing those options. So if they want the thermostat, we have it. If they want the cameras, we have it. If they want the sensors, we have it. And we've really spent a lot of time these past several years developing software applications that enable all of that to stay connected. So you've probably seen in the industry, in the telecom industry, certainly we are leading the pack in developing interactive applications where you can control everything from your phone. Everything from your DVR, you can watch TV on the go, you can control your thermostat, your refrigerator, your sensors, your cameras, you can download the video from your cameras if you choose to. Whatever it is you want to do. And again, we're focused on simplicity, transparency, and giving the consumer the option. So we think smart home is huge. We think that it all becomes one, but we also, based on a lot of the research we do as well, that customers do want the options. And hopefully they're experiencing a level of satisfaction with us where the options that we present are top of mind and what they choose.
Great. Just so you know, we do want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions, and we urge you to participate. There are two ways of doing that. First is through Slido.com using hashtag Southwest by Southwest Eco, SXSW Eco, and we are in room 6A. The other thing I'd like to point out is that for those of you interested in AIA or LEED credit, there's a gentleman in the back of the room that you can sign up with to get your continuing professional education credits. So feel free to chime in with questions at any time. One key part of this is one of the great buzzwords is Internet of Things and how things are going to be completely connected to one another. Already, the power company, your retailer, can know whether or not your refrigerator is consuming the right amount of electricity, or maybe it's breaking down. It can monitor your dishwasher, your water heater. Can you talk to us a little bit about what is the potential for this kind of technology and how it will link up to mobile technology, to our telephones? So, Michael, do you want to?
Sure. Again, I think the horizon is is fraught with opportunity around Internet of Things. And the interesting thing is when we talk to consumers and businesses and vendors and partners about Internet of Things, everyone has their own definition. And I think that that's where Comcast has found ourselves, is allowing people to make their own decisions about what Internet of Things is to them. So, you know, we've played in everything from sort of demand response and energy, and we've piloted and we're partnering with multiple energy companies to try to help each other understand the roles that we play. We have a deep reach with our marketing channels, and that's very interesting to utility companies to understand how they can partner with us in reaching current and potential subscribers for themselves. The Internet of Things, it's an interesting, I think it's a dilemma, but it's certainly just an incredible opportunity for us because things are being developed daily that resonate, and things are being developed daily that don't. And so everyone gets to kind of pick and choose which are important to them. That said, we have a network in the ground, a fiber network in the ground, but we also have 10 million Wi-Fi hotspots around the country. That connectivity enables the control and the visibility that consumers and potential partners and vendors want to be able to get visibility into the home, right? So we think that with our network and our deep network around the country, that we're just that's a logical opportunity for not just us, but our partners.
Great. So I agree with like the definition. Internet of Things can be kind of scary, right? There's a lot of devices out there, lots of companies talking about Internet of Things, but you know, if I'm going to break down my own personal definition of Internet of Things, it's really simple. It's gathering knowledge from devices and doing something smart with that knowledge, right? In its simplest form, whether it's a refrigerator or a light bulb, and maybe the action is saving energy by turning that light bulb off when there's no occupancy in the room. But again, you're gathering knowledge from devices and you're doing something with that data. So if you think about Texas and you go back 10 years, right? You know, I would argue that the original Internet of Things was a smart meter, right? So it's a device in a home measuring energy on a 15-minute interval, and we've been doing this for a decade, right? So over that time, you know, we've used this, you know, another advanced concept called email, right? And we've been sending out, taking that information in from the smart meter. We've been generating insights from that information and sending it back in a simple format of email to our consumers for many years. And over those years, we've iterated. We've learned what works, what doesn't work. When, you know, it's really easy to give too much information or make it too confusing. So we've worked on giving the right information, the right insights. And, you know, I think it comes back to us in that one of the most complimented areas of our business when we get emails and things like that is, hey, we really love your weekly email. You know, we've gotten so much out of that. We've made smart decisions using that information, and we've made positive changes accordingly. So that's kind of the base for our Internet of Things strategy. We look at the new technology that's being developed. We look at the new protocols, and then we have our own labs, right? So we're taking in a lot of products, looking at a lot of technologies. We have 2 houses in Houston that are fully decked out with various connected home devices, and we're trying to understand, like, all right, how do we curate this universe of connected home devices and technologies using real-world house? And, you know, understanding how the different devices interfere with each other and how the protocols work to each other and how everything is evolving. And it comes back to that summer weekly email. You know, how do we take this complex universe of devices and technologies and make it really, really simple? Because that's what we've learned, right? Is how it's just got to work. We got to make it simple. We got to be an easy place to call. Hey, if you don't want to do it yourself, we'll roll a truck out there and do it for you, right? In a cost-effective way. So I think that's kind of how we think about Internet of Things.
If you could step up the microphone so we can hear you. Do y'all feel like we've answered that first question? Or should we feel like we got it? Whoever asked it? You're happy? Okay. Yes, sir. What would you like to ask?
Change
I'm sorry, can you speak up? Pay-as-you-go metering, okay.
Is appropriate to the two of you, given what you're doing?
Yeah, I can start. I think that general area, time of use, right? Time of use, pay-as-you-go metering, I think is a very interesting concept that we've looked at for a lot of years, and that we've tried. We've had a lot of trials in the market, building products around just that, time of use. And we still have products out there, like a free weekend, right, is a simplified version of pay-as-you-go metering. We've tried free days of the week. We've tried different ways to market it to consumers, and I think it comes back to people don't really understand it, and maybe that's an area where we'll continue to work on, because I think it's a good idea, right? Getting consumers to use power when it makes the most sense for them, based on energy prices and so forth. But we have not had a lot of success in doing, I would say, that kind of program yet. But I still think it's an excellent idea.
What he's talking about is that there are different prices for electricity at different times of day on the wholesale market. So at 4 a.m. on Sunday, there are times in Texas in which electricity is basically free because there's so much produced from wind in West Texas and there's no demand for it. Then there are other times on a perfectly still August afternoon at 3 o'clock when, under Texas law, you could collect $9,000 a megawatt hour for that electricity as the price skyrockets, as demand skyrockets. So
What I was asking about was slightly a prerequisite to what you're talking about. It's where you have a dashboard. It's where you have a meter on the outside of your house and you have to swipe a card through. You don't pay monthly through a check. You pay as you go.
okay, all right.
Okay.
I stand corrected then. But this is, but the idea that electricity costs different prices at different times is clearly an issue that a lot of people in demand response are asking about. Is how can we, if I agree to have my Nest go up 5 degrees on those August afternoons, should I get paid for that? And that's kind of one of the places where the home control and being able to use your phone to control your home is going. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, just to finish the gentleman's question,
Yeah.
now that I understand it better, and I apologize, we have exactly that program. It's called Pay-As-You-Go. So we have it with several of our brands. You pay up front. Now, we don't have a slot in the back and next to the meter, but it is set up online where you can pay up front, and then when you run out of credits, then you would repopulate that. So that does exist.
I mean, the way we think about it is we enable that technology that allows that, right? And from our industry perspective, we have models that you may not care about this particularly, but we do have models there you can pay as you go for broadband services, right? Again, it's all about consumer preferences and allowing them options on how they want to interact.
What do you all think is the next new technology for the connected home? Where's the business opportunity that hasn't been met yet?
There's a couple different ways to think about that. I suspect that there's going to be a huge opportunity from an aggregation standpoint. So aggregating all of the different, not just energy and efforts, but also hardware devices and software applications. And that leads to, again, the concept of simplicity and transparency for the consumer. And at the end of the day, everybody's going to start to look very much alike, those of us who provide the kinds of service we provide, and it's going to come down to I truly believe those core tenets of simplicity and transparency. So I think that for us, we're very focused on not just being the provider, but how do we enable aggregation in the home?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think even with the technologies that are out there today, it's still very low adoption. Technologies focused on improving your HVAC, your air handling. Technologies focused on monitoring your temperature. I think demand response still has a lot of opportunity. So I'm not convinced that there is. There'll obviously be a step change technology down the road, but I still think there's a lot of improvement in the common household with the technologies that are out there today, especially as costs continue to decrease. An area that I'm kind of interested in is if you think about how services enter your home, right? You only have a few ways. You have water pipes coming into your home, right, that are metered. You have electricity coming in your home that's metered. You have natural gas coming into your home that's metered. You have all the telecommunications, and you have wireless, and you have satellite, and you have fiber coming into homes. So I'm interested in aggregation as well. So when we really get good at metering all of these different aspects of things coming in and out of your home, I think there's going to be a lot of great insights that come about because of that. And I think there's going to be great technology breakthroughs and opportunities that are going to be a direct result of thinking about this whole home ecosystem in that way. So,
the other thing I think that we'll see shortly is the concept of the credits, right? So if you accumulate credits, whether it be for energy or for services, in one home, can you or should you be able to, if you want to transfer that to another home? So the concept of sharing, so it goes back to sort of like sharing your minutes, right? Can you share your credits, and should you be able to, and leaving out the policy perspective, from a technology perspective, how interesting could that be for consumers? And I think that when you have people who, as an example, live in Houston who may have a place in Galveston or one in Austin, or whatever that case might be, or if you're on the East Coast and you're landlocked, well, I shouldn't say landlocked, but you're in Philadelphia and you want to get to the shore, you might have a condo there. So should you be able to transfer these type credits between your two homes, regardless of who the provider is? And I think that is something that we're going to get to sometime in the next 5 to 10 years.
The next question is talks about worried about someone hacking their phone to break into their house. I'm more worried about the neighborhood teenagers hacking my network to play havoc with my lights and cable TV. What are the have we got the security issues under control? I know Apple HomeKit has a pretty high encryption level, but where do you see things going? Because almost everything's defeatable as we're learning from all the big hacks.
Yeah, look, it's a scary world out there, right? Every time we develop, not we, Comcast, we as the proverbial we, develop some level of encryption and everyone feels real strong about it. You have a university that gets hacked, or you have a governmental agency that gets hacked, or you have a city that gets hacked, or you get hacked. So I think companies are doing a good job of staying at least at the curve, but I also think that cybersecurity it's going to become more so of an industry than it is today, meaning that you're going to have people like the chief scientist at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs working with people like a Comcast and like other companies, energy companies, to develop best in practice and really kind of put the best minds on it to get much further ahead of the curve. And I think it's always going to be incumbent upon any of us, a banking industry, telecom industry, energy industry, all of the industries, to just stay focused on it, because look, we got a lot of smart people out there, and and that's a good thing, right? I mean, we are educating kids today to be able to do these kinds of things, hopefully not for the bad, but for the good. So it's a double-edged sword, and so we just have to, I think it's an opportunity for collaboration between the best of the best.
Yeah, I concur with a lot of those sentiments. I would say that in NRG, I mean, we have, one of our internal value system, if you will. It goes by the acronym STRIVE, right? And I'm only going to focus on the first letter because that's the top priority, which is safety. So it's, every time we start meetings, we talk about safety. And we have generation plants, right? Like very, these are dangerous.
You have a nuclear power plant.
We have nuclear power plants. So, we have, and we have that, we've inherited that culture from our generation side of our business. So safety is critically important as it relates to, from nuclear power plants to what we do, how we manage the data, and to, how we look at security in general and safety in general. So the same things that matter to us as far as safety, we pass on to our customers, and we treat their information, the exact same way. So we operate with the highest security protocols that are out there. We are constantly working on making sure that we're knowledgeable and working with the experts in the cybersecurity arenas to make sure that we're up to speed on the latest technology. But I say this is like a number one value statement for NRG is we work in an environment day in and day out where we have to be safe and we have to treat data with the utmost privacy. So solid answer.
Well, and a big part of the connected home is the new automation systems that are coming online. I mentioned HomeKit, but there are so many different standards. There's Zigbee, there's Z-Wave. Do you use Bluetooth? Do you use tie into the Wi-Fi system? There's Insteon, and I said the Apple products, and Hue, and so many different things. Can you talk a little bit about, is there a need for a certain standardization? Do you think we'll always have these different competing standards? And if so, does that mean that if I have NRG as my provider for a couple of years and I grow tired of that and I want to switch to Comcast, does that mean I've got to get all new equipment to make that work? Can you talk a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think that ultimately consumers will decide what standards play out, right? I mean, I think if you go back in history, there's other industries that have seen this before. And I can't credibly stand up here and say, hey, this is going to be the standard of the future. I think there's going to be several competing standards out there when it all plays out. But end of the day, consumers are going to drive that. So one thing that we've done is we're trying to work with on the Z-Wave protocol, and offering a lot of service and standardization as it relates to our installation, tying it with our security system so that platform is well controlled. Separating out our security side of our business, so you can have security with us, or you can have energy with us. It's not one size fits all. We have different packages and different products for different customer needs and wants. But having said that, we also we offer Nest, so we do have options, and we just work with the various companies that we partner with to make sure that everything we're dealing with, everything that we're testing and curating in our home, in our homes in Houston. Test homes in Houston, is working together seamlessly. So, there are all types of different customers out there. There's the do-it-yourself customer who will go figure it out themselves, right? And they're going to maybe test a lot of different standards and protocols and figure out what works for them. But there's also the do-it-for-me customer who just wants somebody to come in with great products that work, that that will come in and make the installation happen, and that the products and the app and the service will just work seamlessly. So, that's been our approach.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, look, from just the kind of the nuts and bolts of doing business, you want to be able to convince a customer that transitioning to Comcast services is easy. And easy means I can take over all your stuff. You don't have to exchange all your devices out. You don't have to expend any more of those dollars. And oh, by the way, if you do, then we're going to help facilitate that as well. So it just behooves us to, at minimum, open up APIs with our business partners and our vendor partners to say, hey, let's be consistent. And we're making great strides in that. I think that I don't know the answer to the standards question specifically, but I will say again that it just behooves companies to be aware that, again, ease of doing business is critical, and cost of transitioning your services from one provider to another can be a barrier to that sale. So why put up that artificial barrier?
And we've talked around it a little bit, but based on your market research, how engaged are the customers? How ready are they to embrace this technology, and how involved do they want to be?
It's a great question, and we continually refine that answer for us because call it a third of our consumers are 35 or less in age. Then there's a third that is probably in the middle, and there's a third that's 55 and older, 60 and older. So those demographics drive, for the most part, that kind of activity, that want and desire. Now, obviously, everybody ages, and so we're doing everything to ensure that we carry that consumer from the first time they come on with us, if that's at 20 years old and they want complete connected home, because then that means they will always want it. And then there's seniors that aren't that comfortable with it, but then once their grandkid introduces them to the concept of, hey, you can watch me at my soccer game on your iPhone that I gave you for Christmas last year, that's pretty compelling. And so we're starting to see a change in behavior across demographics. Now, when you sit down and talk to consumers and say, do you want? That's always one of the worst questions to ask, because the answer is always yes, generally, right? Sometimes they'll say, no, I don't care about that. But oftentimes, yeah, I want that option. So it just behooves us to make sure that we're enabling those options to come out, as I've said before. It's just an interesting time as you see the baby boomers are aging, and so demographics are playing a big role in the way we go to market with our products, our services, and make sure that we're managing them.
Yeah, I think along the similar lines as our research has shown that I think we get caught up sometimes of comparing like baby boomers to X to Y. What we've really seen as it relates to connected home is more, and you were describing, is like life stage, right? It's like when you graduate college and you can move into your first apartment. What are things that are interested to you? Maybe basic security and entertainment and maybe a door lock or something, right? And then you decide to buy your first condo, and then you potentially get married, and then you have your first kid, and you want a camera in the baby's room, but you need to make sure that your security is beefed up, right? And you're thinking differently about your whole home experience. And then you're an empty nester, and you can dial back your security potentially, or you maybe move the camera to a different place. Or that you want to make sure that your door locks and your garage door are closed when you think they're closed, or they're automatically closed when you leave the house. So I think thinking about Internet of Home or connected home through life stages, you find that actually sometimes your X generation has a lot more in common with your late stage millennials than other demographics. So life stage is definitely one way we are starting to think about it and how we offer products and solutions. But ultimately, it's customer driven at the end of the day.
So what is your big vision for what you can ultimately supply your customers through the Internet of Things? And they're asking 5, 10, 25-year specific milestones. You've clearly got these homes set up that you're experimenting in, so you've kind of got an idea of what's possible. Can you share some of that? And Jason, you want to go first?
Sure. I think it's certainly we have ideas on where the world might go. Maybe we're not that as far out as thinking about, the how all these products and services work together, and there's some technology that we haven't even thought of yet to bring it home. I think we're interested right now in how do we get some momentum behind connected home. I mean, I think Nesta's done a nice job of being kind of a pioneer with the smart thermostat. So if you think about the vision, to me it's going to be product based, right? Great product solving real problems has got to be kind of the fundamental of how the connected home evolves. And then, having the products communicate and generating information and knowledge, and doing, like I said early on, doing smart things with that knowledge and improving the lives of the consumer over time. So yeah, I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did. I'd be in a different industry. But right now, I think we're doing the best job we can to make sure that we're just getting great products to consumers, and that we continue to build on the trust that we have, and that these products just work.
Yeah, I think, we don't have a crystal ball. What's interesting is when you talk to people like Samsung and talk to them about where they're going with their smart appliances, and it's not just that they're smart, it's the depth of intelligence that they're starting to build them with. It's very, very interesting. Now, hardly any of them are fully connected across the home, and that's something that will happen eventually. If we step back and at Comcast, what we think a lot about is, as an example, 10 years ago, people had 5 megs to the home and they were perfectly fine with it, right? Today, consumers have 300 and 500 meg to their homes, and they don't know what to do with that. There's gig rollouts across the country, which is very interesting and compelling, but there's not a single residential application that exists to use it. That said, we know there will be, right? So we think about how do we continually design our networks to increase the broadband capacity to every home that we're connected to on a regular basis. So as the need arises, as gig applications are developed, then when we roll, as an example, out DOCSIS 3.1, which is a really boring title, but it's a network enhancement, it's a network infrastructure that will enable us to push a gig to every home that is in our network, right? And that'll happen over the next 24 to 36 months. That way, we are future-proofing each of our customers' homes for anything that they might need in the mid-future. Also, as we've proven time and time again, that broadband bandwidth is scalable, and we can increase it on a regular basis. So when and if there's a time, which there will be in our future, where there's a 2 gig need in homes and a 3 and a 5, we'll be able to also do that on our network. So that's the way we think about where the need is going from an Internet of Things and a connected home. Now, granted, we also spend a lot of time on the product side, developing products that are interesting to our consumers. But again, when we sit down with consumers and say, because it's one of the things my team is responsible for, is really looking at our product family 5 years and out, and making sure that we're building all of our product and service from a consumer perspective. And you say, what do you want in 5 years? People really struggle with defining that for themselves, much less as a group. So we have to kind of help them along and give them scenarios where they might be able to experience what happens in their home if X, Y, and Z happen. So we try to present compelling cases that actually help then feed us with the consumer needs and wants. But again, we think that from a network infrastructure standpoint, that's where it all boils down to, that you have to have capacity in that home when you're looking forward.
Well, and this kind of goes to the next question about scaling up the Internet of Things. Are you out there shopping for ideas and services that you can repackage, or are you basically waiting for the next Nest to come out of nowhere and tell you, wow, there's a market here?
No, we're definitely proactively working with, and this is one of the things that we really get great reward from not only just being able to participate, but because we actually get something material out of it, is participating in the startup and entrepreneurial community. So we spend a lot of time in that space because they are helping us think, and they're proving to us what's going to happen next. So we're very proactive in looking at the next big thing and how it fits into one of our companies, whether it be the cable company, Telemundo, NBC, Comcast Ventures, Spectacor, et cetera. And simultaneously, we're always aware of what's in the market and being introduced, at minimum aware, if not prepared.
Yeah, I think the same thing, all the above, right? We're looking for great products out there, great technologies, great partners. I think we're trying to, we have scale, right? I mean, we have the ability to service, 3 million customers with call centers and channels and the ability to get to the market and brands. So, we're trying to position ourselves with potential partners or products out there that, hey, we're a good company to partner with, right? We're going to be fast. We're going to be easy to work with. We're going to get pilots up and running quickly, and then we're going to determine if these products are the right for our customers, and if they're not, we'll move on. So, I think that's one thing we're trying to really do to position ourselves is, hey, if you have a good product, good idea, good technology, consider NRG. I think we'll be a good partner for you, and we'll at least give you a channel and a pilot if there's a mutual agreement that we can move forward, and we can see if it's going to have legs or not. So, yeah.
The young woman with the glasses. Target Open House.
Yeah, it's actually, you should look it up. It's a retail implementation by Target.
Oh, yeah.
Which basically tries to provide education to everyone and an interface for these smart devices to meet. And I was curious as to your reaction to it. So it's the first retail foray, and it's part museum, part learning lab, part retail education. They're going to do more outbound kind of service that provides a sort of uniform platform and a roadmap for people to walk through what the options are.
Right.
And as much as it provides kind of an array of choices that are out there, so you have the Nest, you have Quirky, down to your sort of smart connected crop. It provides sort of the white space to figure out what's missing.
Yeah.
But it would be, I think, critical for you guys in trying to figure out how do you get in front of this customer interface and bring people along that curve.
Right. It's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. So we're doing something similar in several of our markets, and Chicago is sort of one of our, signature markets in the country, and we launched what we call Studio Xfinity there. Studio Xfinity does some of those same things for people who want to walk in and sort of experience not just the cadre of products we provide, but sort of the power of the product and the power of the broadband, et cetera. But we also use it as an educational opportunity as well. We invite the community in, we participate. We feel very strongly about outreach into the community, particularly around broadband. And I could go on for 20 minutes about this, so I won't, but I will say this, that as we think about what's most important in our communities, it's really the digital divide. And that's one of the things we work really hard in our Studio Xfinity store, as well as in all of our community investment activities, is we launched 5 years ago what's called Internet Essentials, which is targeted to families with school-age children with free or reduced lunch, that are on free or reduced lunch programs. So we just hit like our 2 millionth customer, maybe a little bit north of that. And so that's one of the things that we're most focused on, and that kind of ties into where Target is going and why they're doing what they're doing. And everything else, to me, that comes out of those experiences and experiments is sort of just good business stuff. But I think they're pretty much aligned with what we're trying to do as well, which is really kind of education, intelligence, and sort of experience, I think.
I just further that I think education and competition and education in this market are great, right? Because it's ultimately going to be a benefit, generate great benefits for the consumer, but increase awareness, increase education. It's going to help everybody. I think one thing that NRG's tried to do is we've taken our kind of home that we had as our real-time lab, and we have another one in Houston in Main Street America, where we've taken kind of the best products and solutions and done a kind of maybe a real-world example of that, right? Where all the connected home devices are there, and folks shopping for a new home can go through this Main Street America home in Houston and get an idea of how all this works together and become educated. And that may help us, but that obviously may help one of our competitors. But I think education in general in this space is going to rise the tides, period.
Well, and one of the things, it's one thing for me to save $5 on my electricity bill, which will mean that I get to buy, I'll probably spend it on a cup of coffee. But for lower income people, saving $5 on their electric bill will have a much more significant impact on their lives. How do you address the cost of this technology and of this equipment? And is it something that your companies are going to be able to provide to lower income people so they can see the benefits as well?
I mean, we have multiple programs out there already for our low income subscribers in our communities. I mean, as I mentioned, the Internet Essentials program, it's a $999 program for internet and $149 for a computer. We've taken that program and introduced it just recently into community colleges. We're looking at the seniors, and we're also looking at veteran communities. I mean, we constantly look for ways to engage, and we recognize that not everybody can afford, nor does everybody want what they get for $20 or $40 or $100 or whatever that case is. So, I mean, we spend a lot of time, and we look at it as an obligation on our part to create meaningful programs that kind of deal with that issue. Now, can we satisfy everything for everybody? Obviously not. But when we think about low income, the low income demographics in our community, our community investment programs are hyper-focused on our nonprofit partners that service those communities, coupled with, again, sort of the Internet Essentials programs, et cetera, that we've already deployed.
Yeah, I think there's a few ways that we're supporting exactly what you're saying. One is just acting locally, right? So understanding what our local utilities and regulators are providing for assistance. For example, CenterPoint had a program for low-income families that essentially allowed them to get a free smart thermostat. So we participated in that program. There was a budget set with it, and we rolled out, I don't know what the exact number is, but a lot of smart thermostats to low-income families. So that's one way to support that effort. I think, two, we have our assistance programs that are tied to our electricity, where people donate and give money. We can use those funds to support low-income families as it relates to, bundles, energy bundles, electricity bundled with a connected home device to get them started along that journey and allow them to participate in the Internet of Things without having any upfront cost, but having a minimal monthly cost associated with it. So there's just a couple ideas.
And you guys have educational programs on, how to save money in the house and that kind of
Sure.
stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
That weekly summary email is another way. By saving money on your energy bill, that's money that you can put back into $1 a month into a connected home device and subscription.
Now, one of the things we've heard a lot about is how this revolution in energy, both in distributed generation, energy efficiency, storage, rooftop solar, that sort of thing is destroying the traditional utility business plan. And our next question is asking about the business models. It seems to me that the business that, and this is the last question to kind of wrap things up. It seems to me that, NRG Home, Xfinity Home, these are your responses to that disruption. Is that too simplistic to say? To the disruption of the traditional utility model?
Well, I mean, I think NRG specifically has been progressive in nature, and that it is laid out a vision of a cleaner energy future. So rather than fight disruptive changes and how our business evolves, we are participating in it. Whether we're participating in solar, whether we're participating in connected home, whether we're participating in energy efficiency or smart thermostats, I think we're trying to get on the train and move along with this disruptive trend in the traditional utility business rather than sit back and fight it. So that's been our strategy, and if you look back at the history of NRG, especially over the last couple of years, you'll see exactly that.
Michael?
So what I would say is, and kind of reiterating what I said earlier, is that we've entered that space with the intention of providing our consumers with the opportunities to pick and choose. And if that means they want us, or if that means they want Nest, or if that means they want their energy company's devices so that they have more control, we want to enable that, because for those customers who want to have active control, I think it's important that they have that, because at the end of the day, if they're consuming less energy, if they're being more efficient, if they're spending less money on that enables them to spend more money on something more meaningful to them, all of those things are good. That's good for the health of the entire community, and it has a ripple effect that's not only encouraging but necessary.
Great. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our hour. I thank everyone for coming, and please give a round of applause to our two guests.